One stands as the most influential object show of all time, not only for its storyline, but for its creator's inspired approach to music. In this video, we'll be looking at the many musical influences of One. In One 2, Eri introduces the second batch of contestants, a collection of sapient objects from a universe much like ours. Amongst these is an upright bass owned by someone with an affinity for the alternative. During her teleportation scene, you can see the album covers of In Rainbows by Radiohead and Remain in Light by Talking Heads. One of the biggest influences on this show and its music is Radiohead, and this is only the first of many references, as you'll soon find out. The appearance of Remain in Light is actually a subtle nod to how Radiohead gained its name. They were originally known as On a Friday, named after the day of the week they'd always meet at school, but at their record label's insistence, they instead named themselves after Radiohead by Talking Heads. We'll come back to this song later, so be sure to write it in your brain journal. Just don't go around making any anti-girl clubs.
Stay out of my brain journal!
Now, a pivotal moment in the story of One happens to be its 9th episode, when Liam is eliminated from the show. Now, on first watch, I thought nothing of it. It was just another simple development in the story. But then I realized. 1-9 is actually presented as a music video without music, and this becomes clear in many ways. The thumbnail to this episode is actually an edited version of this album cover, Radiohead's Hail to the Thief from 2003. And the episode's name happens to be Scatterbrain. When you sync up this song to the metronome sound in its intro, the imagery matches up exactly to the lyrics. I won't show the entirety of this here, but if you'd like to check it out, I've got that right here. But I see this as an ode to a band that played a major part in blending music and internet media in its infancy. They'd be proud. Even Thom Yorke, the band.
Shut the fuck up!
The use, or I guess lack of use, of this song is actually foreshadowed back in 1-6. When Liam is resurrected from drowning, he mentions to Bryce that
it's been a while since I haven't felt completely scatterbrained.
An often overlooked album in Radiohead's catalog is Amnesiac, shadowed by its more confident cousin Kid A. Many of its songs are an edgy interpretation of krautrock, but one song stands tall amongst the rest. Life in a Glass House is a rather jazzy song in Radiohead's usually alternative universe, and it sounds very similar to the background music of this scene from 1-5.
Come in. Oh, hey, Parker.
Though Name's Brain is only piano, upright bass, and drums, it shares a similar stumbling quality, but perhaps there's symbolism there. Charlotte's lack of logic is just as confusing as the music that plays on her big flat-screen TV, paid for by her friend's medical loan. What a bitch! Remember how I said Radiohead's Namesake was a Talking Heads song? Well, this might actually be more than a fun fact. The lyrics of the song Radiohead by Talking Heads is full of radio-related symbology, and it might just be a hunch, but this seems to be the main inspiration to many plot points in One. Let's run by them real quick, shall we? When Liam dies in 1-6, he notices a man in a chair sitting next to a radio, fumbling with the knob in hopes of doing something? Well, in 1-12, Liam realizes the numbers on the notes given to him by Stone are radio frequencies for that very radio, used to teleport between universes.
It's no code. It definitely has to be about the radio.
In 1-13, Liam and Bryce are struck dead by lightning, leading them back to the waiting room. After a dangerous number of attempts to input the right frequency, they find themselves back in San Francisco.
We're back on Earth.
I'm starting to think we would never get back here again.
In 1-15, Liam and Bryce are moments away from going back to the waiting room when Bryce is forced to rejoin One. In 1-17, Liam uses the radio frequency marked Eri, bringing him to a universe with a forested planet, containing the plane itself. After Eri's death, he used this radio to teleport to various universes until he stumbled across this universe, accidentally realizing he has a higher power of teleportation here. In an attempt to not scare the people he teleported to the plane, he comes up with One. Like I said, this show is an unintentional ode to the radio. I guess you could call a cheesy HFJ a Radiohead. Yeah, I set this all up just for that punchline. I'm sorry. As Liam and Bryce travel to New York City to find a homeless calculator named Oscar, which sounds really weird out of context, you hear this sting reminiscent of a Broadway musical. A grand gesture for sure, with its over-the-top brass, but this sting is no accident. The choice to use a sting like this comes from a 1924 musical composition, Rhapsody in Blue, by George Gershwin. This piece is inspired by his interpretation of American culture. This particular piece is often considered a musical portrait of New York City. Introduced with a flowery clarinet passage, you can see the similarities. Listen carefully to 1/7 when Bryce goes about his day. Used throughout these wordless scenes is a jazzy piano piece with a subtle upright bass backing, but if you're anything like me, you notice it immediately. This is a cover of a relatively well-used royalty-free song known as Soul in Mind by Ease Jammy Jams. What kind of band name is that? Now, if you watched the controversial finale to 1, you would have heard a cover of Around the Bend by Pearl Jam, sung by Whippy Creamy.
If I get the prize, I'm asking for some Whippy Creamy sized sunglasses.
Anyway, the usage of this song in the finale is poignant as it speaks to Aries' lost hope in returning to familiarity, a desperation he has unfortunately passed to others. But bear with me as I explain just how important this song is. Back in 1/8, at the very end of the episode, you hear a voice humming a seemingly random melody. But listen to this.
Find a peace within yourself.
That's the melody from Around the Bend, foreshadowing its use 10 episodes later. Crazy, right? 2 episodes later, in 1:10, as Liam is thumbing through Stone's notes, he comes across one with this image, a circle with the number 5 written inside. Now have a look at the album this song comes from. In just the title of 113 alone, you notice the words, "No Code." Take a look at the album one more time, see if you can spot it. Right there. Liam isn't just saying that the radio frequencies are not a code, he was predicting Aries' famous last words. And with that, thank you for watching.